Good evening, everyone. Om Shanti. Welcome to Brahma Kumaris Silicon Valley 21 day goal to cleanse tough habits. As always, we'll get started with meditation. Yesterday, we talked about the sources of thoughts and how our mind gets extremely busy and congested when we are feeding it a lot of information. So, let's practice meditation to do a self reflection and see how we can get the mind some rest by giving it some really beautiful, powerful, organic food. All right, so I'll just share my screen and then we'll get started. Let's take few deep breaths. Inhale and exhale. One more time. Inhale and exhale. With every breath, let's release the burden, the various burdens from our mind. Let go of the past, people, home, work, discomfort in the body, or the emotional disturbance. For a few minutes, let's withdraw our mind and come back to it later if needed. It's time to connect to our core, a spot that is the most pure and beautiful. It's easy to connect to the core self, the real being, when I bring attention to the middle of my forehead between the eyebrows, where the tiny point of light, a star, is shining. This is the real me. I, the tiny light, is the commander-in-chief of my mind and body. The mind and body are my servers, and I am their master. Because in the journey of life, I had forgotten that I am the master. I had forgotten the real self. I didn't realize that I had become the servant of my mind. Whatever the mind ordered, I, the server, followed it. So from morning, as soon as we woke up, watch something, do something, eat something, drink something, shop, scroll, possess, listen, gossip, socialize, and the number of thoughts and instructions kept increasing. And the body kept working, trying to do everything. Eat more, sleep more, scroll more, watch more, listen more, talk more. And these are all the habits I formed because I forgot who I was. I tried creating so many habits so that I would be happy, peaceful. But these habits that I developed, they've made me dependent on objects, on gadgets, people, work, nature, climate, everything. Can a dependent ever be happy? Can a prisoner, a slave, ever be peaceful? I, the master, has a new spiritual awareness that I am a master, almighty authority, and the mind, intellect, the subconscious mind are my servers, my subtle organs. And I can use these organs accurately through spiritual knowledge and create happiness even if I don't have anything externally. The food is not that great. I can create a thought. So what? I at least have something to eat. If I'm not able to sleep, so what? I will sleep later. I'll just relax reading a book. If my work is getting delayed, I maintain patience by saying, There's constant changes in this world. Anything can happen. I need to be ready. I, the soul, can use my organs accurately when I educate myself with spiritual knowledge, wisdom that tells me how to think, how much to think, and when not to think. I am a master, almighty authority that has full control on my mind. Welcome everyone once again to 21-day goal of cleansing tough habits. So let's continue our discussions. We talked yesterday about the sources of thoughts, how the subconscious mind and the conscious mind are both constantly feeding our mind, right? And I, the soul, is allowing so much information to be flown into the mind. So I have an ability to not consume so much information. Information is food for the mind, and after, like the body releases energy in the blood and everything else after having food digestion, similarly, when so much information is fed, the mind then releases a lot of thoughts. So if I don't want so many thoughts, I should take care on how much information, and especially most importantly, what kind of information am I feeding to my mind. The quality of the thoughts matches the quality of the information. So today what we will talk about is, this was again mentioned in the first 5 days as a, when we're talking about the foundation. So I just want to kind of bring it up by visualization, that when we are in the habit mode, we are running in an autopilot mode. What does the autopilot mode mean? Let's try to understand it. So there was an example of Susan that was taken, so I'll continue using that example. Now, Susan at some point of the time had developed the habit of eating or overeating, especially after every meal. Susan wanted a cookie or some kind of a dessert, and after 20, 30 years of lot of dessert, she'd put on lot of weight, and she was not feeling that well, went to a doctor visit. So right now, Susan is on an autopilot mode, right? Anytime there is, first of all, every time she has her lunch or dinner, immediately the subconscious mind pushes a thought here: Susan, go and have a dessert. Susan immediately goes, gets some dessert, eats it. The experience is, wow, that was quite good. It gets recorded here. Now, this impression could be impression, obviously impression related to greed, but associated with certain patterns of thoughts, which are immediately after food, that thought comes. And the more Susan has been doing this for 15, 20 years, the patterns here are very, very dark, deepened, which means what? That thought of eat, eat, eat comes quite a bit, gets pushed quite a bit to the mind because she has used it a lot. This is what habit is, right? Eating after every meal, I need a dessert. It's a habit. And here we are trying to show the bully, which is basically a negative thought, right? Greed. Every day I want, I want, I want. Yes, desserts are good, but in, especially when we are growing older, we need to be mindful, right? We can't have it every day. But the bully says, no, it gives you so much happiness. It's okay. Everybody, there's so many people who are overweight. It's okay. Nothing happens. The bully keeps telling us that. We keep listening. So majority of these thoughts in our mind have become, if we are not taking care spiritually, majority of the thought patterns are bully driven. And yet we talked yesterday about our original personality trait which is angel like. Perfect human beings when we started our journey in this physical world, the time cycle. So the angel has become very small, almost not visible, but it still exists. So right now, bully is driving, the bully prompt is driving Susan to constantly eat, and it's become a very deep sanskara or personality trait. So she might not just be using greed for eating, she might be using in many different places. Maybe she has greed even in shopping. She doesn't need anything, but she keeps buying. Maybe she uses greed even in sleeping. Just 8 hours are not enough. She wants to sleep, sleep. More sleep is more peace. So this greed becomes such a deep personality trait that now it has become a way of living. It's not just restricted to food. Greed is now taken over. A very deep thought pattern. So now, like I said, Susan visited a doctor, and the doctor, because she was having issues, the doctor told her, all your test results are alarmingly negative. You need to do something immediately, otherwise, your life is in danger. So now Susan, because she had new piece of information, her conscious mind, the conscious mind is the place where temporary, all the new information, it's a temporary memory space. So all the current information sits in the conscious mind, which is also the decision maker. As we saw in the previous one, there is no decision making happening here, right? There's just pushes a thought, I go do the action. There is no like, should I do it or should I not do it? No, no question. Auto mode. Thought comes, I run into action, I experience something, gets recorded. Now, if I want to go to a manual mode, really my best buddy is my conscious mind. And what are we doing to our conscious mind? We are overfeeding gadgets, constantly work, don't even rest. If your mind is disturbing you, why don't you do office work? Or we are watching social media, news, gossiping, socializing. So, this conscious mind, which is the only one that can guide the mind in the right track, is engaged in wrong sources. So, really, highly recommend if you are affected by one of these things where you are feeding your conscious mind only negative or junky information, let's start by feeding it some positive information. Reading, there are wonderful blogs. If you search for Brahma Kumari blogs, there are wonderful blogs with small articles. Doesn't take more than 5 or 10 minutes to read every day. After reading, just note down few things that you really liked. You'll see, just thinking deeply about what you read, those thoughts will now become your angelic thoughts. So the first, now that Susan got new piece of information from the doctor that her life is in danger, she started driving back home. And immediately the bully prompt said, hey Susan, you look so tensed and sad. Why don't you stop over for a dessert? That will make you feel better. That's the first thought. Because Susan, every time she was uncomfortable, her thoughts say, hey, you're uncomfortable, eat, you'll be happy. Everything we are doing because we want to be happy or peaceful or loving. There is nothing else. We do things that are profitable. But the problem is, because our conscious mind is sleeping, it is not telling, hey, this eating is really not giving you real happiness. It's giving you a second of happiness, a minute of happiness, right? But our conscious mind is sleeping, it's busy with social media. So, because the doctor had given this new information, a second thought props up and says, hey, Susan, but the doctor said your life is in danger. And because this Susan had been thinking in the car and saying, I want to live, I have many responsibilities, I want to take care. And this was an awakened intellect. The angel decides and says, no, we are not stopping for dessert. We'll go home and have something healthy. And then the experience is Susan was okay. Gets recorded. A new angelic impression gets recorded that Susan did not eat and she was okay. Now, Susan continued to keep thinking, how am I going to lose weight? I don't want to overeat. She had full attention on consciously thinking about ideas in reducing weight. And meanwhile, problems came in her life. This bully thought kept coming, eat. But because she was awakening her conscious mind by constantly thinking, I need to cut down, she was paying attention. Her conscious mind is back again, is alive again. And it is constantly telling, it is choosing the thought now. Two thoughts are being generated. The conscious mind says, nope, we're going to only choose one thought. And that thought is, we are not eating dessert. So now, as she keeps doing this for about 3 weeks, that is what the psychologists say, it takes about 3 weeks for a habit or a deep impression to be formed. After some time, if Susan keeps at it, not just for the eating habit, but for everything negative that exists in her, she continues to feed her conscious mind great spiritual knowledge, exercises the conscious mind in meditation so that it becomes healthy and powerful. Our mind and conscious mind, they are becoming very weak if we are only feeding it news, which is negative information, or junk food, the social media, or work that is nothing but stress. So when we feed powerful information, either by listening to it, watching it, or reading it, then this conscious mind will become so powerful that after 3 weeks, Susan, her friend comes and says, hey, Susan, I'm in the town. Do you want to go and have some dessert? Susan, on an autopilot mode, will now use the angelic thought. First thought will be, no, you know what? I just can't afford to eat. I have some health issues. Can we go to a coffee place instead? And again, Susan angelic impression becomes darker. Soon our subconscious mind will change. If we keep at it, this is my personal experience that the number of negative thoughts in this last 6 years, yes, there are many, there are still many, but the amount has reduced tremendously. And even if the negative thought is the first bully thought, I immediately, because I'm feeding my mind every day, I read at least for an hour. But I started with just 10 minutes when I started this. I started with 10 minutes of meditation, 10 minutes of reading, 10 minutes of writing. This is it, my investment. And now, yes, I'm doing it a lot more because I see so much benefit in it. So when I am feeding slowly, the white dots, the angelic thought patterns are increasing. My mind and everything feels so light. So highly recommend you all to, you know, start your day with some beautiful breakfast for your mind. Give it some positive information. If you can't, don't like reading, at least listen to an empowering, upbeat song. Not the lovey-dovey songs, but really that uplifts our morale. There are so many beautiful songs. And then practice meditation. There are many wonderful meditation commentaries on YouTube if you search for Brahma Kumaris commentaries. And then, you know, your day will go a lot more beautifully because your mind is clean and powerful. So let's practice these teachings in meditation. I am a pure, clean, and conscient energy. It's time for me to get some rest. Whole day, the mind has been thinking, thinking, and overthinking. And I, the soul, can experience real rest. When I travel back home, my real home, Nirvana, Param Dham. So visualize the tiny point of light, the star leaving the center of your forehead, traveling upwards, crossing the sky, the moon, the planets, higher and higher. And here I am, golden red light everywhere, tiny dots of light all over the place. What a beautiful visual, a place filled with light but pin drop silence. Every place has vibrations, just like temple, church has the vibrations of gratitude, benevolence. Our home, Nirvana, has the vibrations of the highest frequency because the Divine Himself, the Supreme Soul, resides here. God is the highest spiritual energy. He is the source, the imperishable source for imperishable peace, love, and happiness. I sit directly under Him and I feel the shower of vibrations pouring upon me. I am so close to the divine light, the ever beautiful God. I thank Him for charging me up, for filling me up. But He says, it's my right. I am His child, so I have a right to His inheritance. And He has the inheritance of abundant peace, overflowing love, and never-ending happiness. Like Father, I am the Ganges of love, peace, and happiness. Thank you, dear God, for reminding me that I am just like you. I take his leave and travel back to the physical world, back to the center of my body. I am fully charged, and I remember that I am a beautiful, eternal, and imperishable light. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Highly recommend you all to start reading, and maybe quite some of you might already be reading, but highly recommend starting the day by feeding the mind some organic, healthy information so that it gets a good start and creates beautiful thought. It releases beautiful thoughts, right? So let's take care and